What's up, everybody? My name is Jason Creel, and I am live on YouTube, or at least I'm live now. You may be watching the replay and wanted to take this time. I've been doing these for, I don't know, 5 years or so, Q&A sessions on YouTube. But I wanted to do a little bit different today. I wanted to do more than just Q&A. I wanted to talk about kind of what I've been through in the lawn care business and maybe even share a story about a time when I almost quit a couple of times. And I'm looking back, I'm glad I didn't. But I thought that might be interesting, especially for some of you that are in the lawn care business and maybe, thinking about quitting or gotten burned out or just wondering, is this just going to be another year of the same old thing? So I would love to talk to you about my experience with that and share a little bit of stories. And then also, of course, take your questions. So I'm going to give it just a minute, get a drink of water here, let some people hop on, and then we'll get started. To give you an update, if you're new to the channel, I am in Alabama. I run a weed control and fertilization business, and I'm in my 19th year. Before I did weed control, I was mowing grass in a different city, and then moved and started weed control. And so here I am. It's raining today, so I thought it'd be a good day to hop on here and do a little live streaming. So the way it typically works, if you have a question, go ahead, post it on the right side here. I'll try to get to your questions as I can, and in the meantime, share a story. So let me just start from the beginning if I could. And I want to also mention a couple things in the description of the video here. You'll find a couple of links, and these are companies that I partner with. One is StreamYard. StreamYard, so I'm using to do the live stream. One is Footbridge Media. They do the website and SEO work for Alabama Lawn Pros, and they have an affiliate link with them. So the normal price is $249 a month for your website and SEO, and they do it for $199 a month with my link. So that's, if you want a website and SEO, you're going to be in the lawn business, I recommend doing that. And it's a very reasonable price, $199 a month. The other is Small Engine Warehouse. If you need to get parts, there's an affiliate link in the description as well. Blades, replace an engine, tune-up kits. You can go to Small Engine Warehouse to check that out. All right, so I started my lawn care business in 2007, I think. And I was in my 20s at the time and just didn't know exactly what I was wanting to do. But I thought about different ideas. But I thought about starting a business and didn't have a lot of ideas of what to do. So I ended up buying this book. A couple of books, actually. One was called 48 Days to the Work You Love. It's by a guy named Dan Miller. I think he passed away not too long ago. I heard about him on the Dave Ramsey show, and he was talking about 48 days to the work you love. It was kind of like how to get a job. Then another one, 48 days of creative income, and that was more about how to start a business. And going through that, I had a group of friends. We started a little entrepreneurial club, and I started a lawn care business. And I started mowing grass. And let me put this comment up here. Somebody put it on here. Getting burned out, lost 2 people, and said, "God bless." Didn't even care. Well, it can happen. I like your little graphic there. It's a nice looking lawn. But anyway, I was mowing grass in that first year. I had a lot of jobs before that. None of them really good, and definitely didn't pay very well. And when I started mowing grass, I got a 0-turn mower. I got a trailer, blower, all this basic stuff. I sold a Ford Ranger and got a Ford F-150. I had somebody that actually helped me out, give me a little bit of money to get started, which was, looking back, a great benefit. And I got a contract on an HOA for a neighborhood. I've shared this story before, but that was paying $1,025 a month. Year round, and it was just a little entrance way for this neighborhood. Well, that was, for me, having worked literally for minimum wage, just making pitiful amount of money for some of the jobs I had. $1,025 a month was pretty significant. So that sort of got my juices flowing. And another thing that happened is this was a neighborhood where they were building a lot of houses in the neighborhood, little spec homes there, and they had a bunch of them that hadn't sold yet. And so the builders or the whoever I was working with, the company that I forget what you call it, but the facilities management company that I got the contract through, they contacted me also about mowing all these vacant lawns that were there, the houses hadn't sold. They didn't want them edged. They just want me to run the mower over them and do some trimming and be done. Well, they were little bitty yards, like a bunch of them on one street. So I would literally just get in the backyard and go back and forth over multiple yards. And between mowing the entranceway and then going and mowing about 15 or 20 of these houses, I think I was making more in 1 week. One day before lunchtime than I would get on my 2-week paycheck at the job I left. So while it wasn't great, and I'm probably underpriced some of it, and there's a lot of mistakes to be made, it quickly exceeded in my expectations of anything I had done previously as far as making money. Hey, Jason, love your channel. Been watching you for years. Thanks. I appreciate that. Ray Ray's Lawn Landscape 2008. Thank you. Well, so I was sort of hooked on it. I wasn't immune to working. I was fine working. I just hadn't had good opportunities. And anyway, I had to figure a lot of it out. I bought a Hustler 44-inch zero-turn mower. And I remember it had a 19 horsepower Kawasaki on it, Hustler Mini Z, and it ended up being a good mower. I had, I think, a 6x12 trailer, or 6.5x12 trailer. Ended up, I think, the next year is when I bought. This guy was selling 4 zero-turn mowers. One was a Walker bag mower, one was a big Ferris 60-inch mower. I forget what else. He told me if I'd buy 2 of them, he'd give me all his customers. I think he was burned out. He was just getting out of the industry. So I bought 2 of his mowers, and I bought his Walker and I think that big Ferris thing. And I sold the big Ferris because I didn't need it. And then he took me around, and he probably didn't give me as many as he said he was, but I might have got 25 or 30 customers, including some pretty good commercial accounts from him. I remember that was in year 2. So by that time, it really, I felt like, all right, I'm in the lawn business now. Year 1 went fine. I was figuring some stuff out. But in year 2, in the area I lived in, a lot of people bagged the lawn. So I got a Walker mower. I could do the leaf cleanup stuff. I still had that Hustler Mini Z. So anyway, it ended up being a good thing getting me going. And I'm going to fast forward here. Let me get to the next comment. Hey, Mr. Krill, Talladega. I live not too far from Talladega, maybe an hour. Started seeing weeds 3 weeks ago with my Bermuda. Threw down granular barricade last fall, hit it with MSA and Celsius, but soil temperatures were in the 50s. So, did it hurt or help? Well, I'm not. It's hard for me to say exactly what you did in the fall. That I would think that would be a benefit of what you did, but you need to also. You're saying. I'm sorry, let me read it one time. Threw down granular barricade last fall. You need to throw down some granular barricade right now, like ASAP. It's going to be mid-70s next week. So I would get down some kind of pre-emergent right now. You're probably going to have crabgrass all summer long. And then you could spot treat with whatever, if you got Celsius, whatever you want to use to spot treat the weeds with, do that. But you need to really get that pre-emergent down very soon, or you're going to probably have a lot of crabgrass this summer. All right, so back to my story is, year 2, I got the commercial properties, had some year-round accounts. It was going pretty good. Year 3, I had to hire 1 or 2 people to help. It kept growing a little bit. I think I would say it was year 5 probably where I started hitting my first area of being burned out. I'm not sure what he says here. I apostrophe V. Year 5. He says, yes, thank you. I had some employees, and I think I probably had my yards underpriced, was working. It was growing, but it's one of those situations, you hear the story all the time where you're working more, but not necessarily making any more money. You know what I'm saying? I had more people and was working. We were hard workers, and I was young and energetic, but weren't exactly making more money probably than when I started. Maybe a little bit, but maybe not for the headaches that were involved. I tried to get more equipment. I'd actually gotten 2 trucks, 2 trailers, more mowers, and was trying to grow a little bit. And I have a college degree in computers wasn't the greatest degree ever at the time from where I got the degree, but I had an opportunity to take a job doing computer work, working for the state government. And I probably, because of being a little bit burned out, I didn't want to get rid of my lawn business. This is 5 years in. I took that job. I stayed there for 1 year, and it was not a good experience for me. But I kept the business going, had some people running the business. And when I removed myself from the business, unfortunately, it did start to go downhill a little bit. I was still involved. I just wasn't out there daily because I had a day job. Sometimes I'd have to go after getting off that job to help do the work and stuff. Well, what happened was in that 5th year, somebody approached me about buying my business. And again, I was working this job at the time, still had the business, had probably 150, 160 accounts that we were taking care of. And I ended up selling the majority of the business. I kept a small portion of it. Sold all my equipment, trucks, everything, and I kept a small portion and had a non-compete agreement for the rest of it, and even the big city. So I was just in this little small town with about 20 yards, sold it, still working the job. After I sold it, I didn't stay at the job much longer. I quit that job, and I was working those lawns maybe 1 or 2 days a week was all that was. And I tried to start a different business. I tried to start a coupon book fundraising company. Well, that was a terrible idea. Any way you look at it was terrible. But I thought, you know what? I'll get the kids to sell these coupon books. Took some of the money I sold the business for. That printed these coupon books. I think that cost like $20,000, which was a mistake. I should print them in color. I should have printed them in black and white. It'd probably been a fifth of the cost. And try to get the kids to sell them. Maybe came close to breaking even after a year. But, if you spend a year doing something, break even, you didn't really break even. You just wasted a year doing something, and it costs a lot of money to live for a year. So that was terrible, and ended up losing a lot of the money that I had sold the business for. Well, about that time, we decided to relocate our family. And I moved to where I live now. Let me continue the story. Let me read a few of these comments here. I bet we're mowing come mid-March in Tennessee, the temperatures. Yeah, next week, mid-70s here is what it's showing. So I think everything's going to start greening up, especially if it's just weeds. But in Tennessee, you may have some cool season lawns too. Hey, Jason, thanks for the tips, tricks, and knowledge through the years. I've learned a lot from you and others on YouTube. Well, I appreciate you watching the videos. We all take hits in the beginning. It's the price of doing business. You will learn or we never evolve. Always learn more from my mistakes. Got to go through it to learn who your customer is. Definitely agree with that. And business dropped off when you went back to work. Employees are hard. Yeah, I mean that. And some of it was my fault. I didn't know what I was doing as far as managing employees and things. So there were some mistakes I made and things I could have done differently for sure. Anyway, so I relocated where I live now. Sold the rest of the business. You remember I had just like 20 or something customers. The coupon book business had basically failed after a year. I had those 20 customers. I bought another truck, another mower, another trailer. I bought an enclosed trailer this time. Seemed like I bought a Skag mower and another truck. I sold all that to a guy that was looking to start. I just sold it pretty cheap because I didn't have a whole lot going on at the time. We were relocating. So from the time I sold my first business, which seemed like a good move at the time, and it wasn't a terrible move, I just didn't transition very well after selling the business. Failed in the coupon, started a small business. I even got my real estate license for a minute. I thought, well, I might do something with that. I didn't do anything really with that. So I moved up here and moved. I couldn't take the business with me. So what am I going to do? I'm starting a lawn business again. So that's where I got to my third lawn care business. It's called Alabama Lawn Pros. And it's what I'm managing now. When I did that, I switched over to weed control and fertilization. Now, when I started that, I had somebody, I met some of the people that were mowing grass, and one guy, I was working with him 1 day a week, just mowing grass with him. I also started mowing grass as well, just to try to make money, because I, again, moved here, had 3 kids, a 4th one coming soon, and I needed to make money. So I bought an F-250 and got a big spray rig from Graham Spray Equipment, who I've been working with ever since, and started learning how to spray the yards. Fortunately, I had a mentor that walked me through that and still helps me today. And I was mowing. I got maybe 25 mowing accounts that first year, and also maybe 75 or 80 spraying accounts that first year. So I had around 100 customers total. The second year, I got 100 more customers, so I was around 200 total. The third year, I think I got 100 more, and I quit mowing and sold my mower. I gave the mowing customers to somebody who was starting a mowing business in exchange that he would cut my grass for the rest of the year. So I sold my mower for the first time in a long time. I didn't even have a mower, and I didn't even cut my own grass, at least for the rest of that year. And then after that, I did get a mower and started cutting my own grass again. So that's how I got into weed control and fertilization, how I got out of mowing. In the weed control, I think it did fix some of the problems that I was dealing with. One was winter income. I had some year-round recurring clients that would, definitely helped. But when I started doing weed control, it was sure enough year-round business, and that was tremendous as far as the income side of it. Also, it took a while. Again, it took me 3 years to really fill up my route, but by doing that, ultimately it was more profitable for me than mowing grass. So it was I say sometimes the burnout can be with mowing is like you wear yourself out so much, and then in the winter you don't make that much money. And so you're like, then you need to start working again. And it just seems like a recurring cycle. If I had a good year, then I'd owed more in taxes, So for me, not that can't work. I'm sharing my experience. I was having struggling to make that work. So with the weed control and fertilization, I was able to make more revenue per day. I wasn't sure about that if I was going to try to grow and have multiple trucks. I did get 2 trucks going for weed control and fertilization, had somebody part-time. But eventually, as stuff I was doing on YouTube and stuff grew, I decided to downsize back to what I could handle for the weed control and fertilization. And I did that maybe 5 or 6 years ago. So ever since then. So let me take a breath here and answer a couple of these questions or see what they say. Hey man, thanks for putting out the information about weeds. I started taking care of my lawn last year and came to you find out certain chemicals for goosegrass. Yeah, goosegrass, hopefully your pre-emergent will get ahead of it. But for me, like on Bermuda lawns, I use Dismiss NXT is one of the best, especially if you can catch it a little bit early. So did the sulfentrazone 12 ounces per acre help one time with nutsedge? Yeah, I'm doing that again right now, actually. Did it last year, and I'm doing it this time of year before the grass turns green in my area because I don't want to risk turning the grass brown. So I did have a really good year last year as far as controlling sedges, but I did 2 things. So I can't say how much it was the sulfentrazone versus how much it was the other thing I did. So I would spray sulfentrazone in round 2, which is what I'm doing right now, but before the grass turned green. But then I came back in the summer, early summer, and was spraying a product called Southside, which is a Harold's product. It's the active ingredients in Certainty and methylfuron. And so by blanketing that would also help tremendously with sedges. So I can't say, which one of them was more effective, but I did have a really good year controlling sedges, and that's the 2 things I primarily did. Love hearing your story. I've got little clusters of dark green spiky grass or weeds popping up in my Bermuda. Well, I wonder if it actually is like spiky, like has spikes in your feet, or if you're talking about like Poa annua or anything. Like Poa annua it's not spiky, like it's not going to hurt your feet if you step on it, but it does describes the description, fits the description you're saying here. So it could be Poa. If it is Poa at this time, I would just let the heat kill it. You can use Revolver on Bermuda, but it's easier to control the earlier you get it. Next year, maybe do your fall pre-emergent and don't use Revolver on St. Augustine. So honestly, at this point, I would just sort of let it go and let the heat knock it out, which may not happen until April or May, but a fall pre-emergent next year would definitely help. How far apart would you space prodiamine applications if you're doing it twice? If you clarify that for me, Cody. Do you mean twice, like early in the season, or like once now and once in the fall. If you're doing once now, once in the fall, I take the annual max rate. So if you're using the liquid version of prodiamine, the 4FL is what I use, Resolute 4FL. The annual max rate is 48 ounces per acre, I believe. So I spray 24 ounces, January, February. Again, I'm in Alabama. That may change for you, depending on where you live. And you can do 24 more ounces in the fall, September, October. But if you're talking about doing a split out in the, early in the year, I would, maybe do, you can split it however you want to, but make sure, I would go a little heavier on the first out. I'd do 16 or 18 ounces round one, and then come back with 6 or 8, whatever you need to get to the 24 on the second out. Now, if you're doing the WDG, is like the powder form of it, the annual max rate, I believe, is 2.3 pounds per calendar year. So the annual rate would be 1.15. So I hope that helps. Oh, he says yes, early spring. So you split it. Take the 24 ounces of liquid and split it up. But I'd go a little heavier on the first one. Or if you're doing the WDG, it's 1.15 pounds, and you can split that up however you want. Every chemical I have in my possession is from you. LOL, they all work. First time I had Tantalon, almost no weeds. Well, that's good to hear. I'm glad to hear positive reports. So Fertilization is rough on the sedge, knocks them in the dirt. Yeah, I mean, it also can cause some, discoloration in the lawn as well. Let me fast forward my story a little bit. Moved here, was doing weed control and fertilization, and Cody says thank you, and that has been a good thing for me. Again, it helped solve my winter income. It also, because of that, if you want to hire somebody, grow and want to hire somebody, you can keep somebody on, pay them a little higher wage if you're making more profit. And you can also pay them year round. Again, I'm basing that where I live. It's basically a year-round business. So I think that helped with the burnout, to be honest with you, because the burnout is not making money. I get burned out on that and struggling to make it and having to supplement your income doing other things. So that it fixed a lot of those problems. I think a lot of this has to do, in my opinion, people get burned out on what fits your personality. Like some people can grow big and manage a bunch of people, and that is life-giving to them. Other people, that is not the way they want to run their business. I struggle with that. I guess, a micromanager, and so want to do it myself. And doing the weed control, it took a while. I had to get a lot of customers. I had to kind of build a tight route. But by doing that, I'm able to be pretty profitable because I don't travel very far. I can get 25 yards done in a day a lot of times. And so you can make a decent amount of money without driving a whole lot and have good margins. And so that helped a lot, took a lot of pressure off. And it freed me up to do stuff on social media, So I might, if I didn't do YouTube videos, I might approach the business a little different. But that's why I kept it solo the way I have. Some of it is having an opportunity on YouTube and social media. Other is just this my personality. I'm not a great boss. I'm not a great employee. I'm probably better off just working by myself. So anyway, those are my stories as far as where I'm at. I think today, if I could say this, like, I'm very glad. I want to go somewhere else with this because I have a couple other points I want to make. Let me ask this here. These clusters don't have stickers. It's probably POA annua. Google POA annua, POAANNUA, and see if that fits the description. I noticed the treated goosegrass after it dies stays a dead spot almost. I've gone through and handpicked them. Is that normal? Put down. Yeah, it's just a dead weed stays there. Hopefully it'll be like the next year before you start mowing the grass. It should go away. So I don't think you have to pull them out. And prodiamine probably will help, but I have one yard in particular with real compacted soil on a slope, and it just gets goosegrass. So some yards are just prone to it. He said, I used sulfitrazone emerald zoysia for purple nut sedge, medium rate. It did discolor turf for about a week. The sedge was toast. Yeah, you gotta be a little careful when the weather gets hot. That's why I'm doing it now. And trying to before the grass turns green. Especially, I tell people don't ride on spreader spray or spray and dismiss with dew on the grass. I'm not sure what it is, but it'll leave brown tire tracks through the yard. So the other thing I wanted to mention as far as what I was sharing about getting burned out, I've had every year, seems like people reach out about buying my business. Well, maybe because my business, Alabama Lawn Pros, it sounds big and official, even though it's just really just me and working in a small area. So my business is not worth that much, to be honest with you, because I have, several hundred accounts and all that. I've had more and downsized multiple times, but it's not worth a whole lot to the people that are calling. If you get a bigger business, and of course it's obviously worth a lot more, but a much higher multiple probably. And my business, for better or for worse, is heavily reliant on me. Well, when people look at that and they talk about buying out your business, I've had a couple of times where they want to buy you out and want you to go work for them. And the offers I get are just pitiful. I mean, just pitiful, insulting offers. And that's not their fault necessarily. I mean, it sort of is. But, when you're asking somebody, hey, would you give me your business and come work for me and take a pay cut? It's like, no. And you basically wasted my time. And so that's what has happened. Like, here, we'll pay you less than you make now, significantly less. And the freedoms you get from working by yourself, you give that up because you'll now be working for me. And by the way, you won't be in business anymore. We'll have a bit. We'll grow our business. We'll pay you less than you make now. And does that sound like a deal? And I've not been. Well, I'll say one time I sort of halfway considered it. I'm thinking of a specific situation a couple of years ago, but the offer again was pitiful. I tell them when they call, I was like, I'll sell my business. It's going to be a whole lot. So I just give them some ridiculous price. It's way more than it's worth. If they want to pay that, fine. And I'm not taking some, ridiculous offer. Well, the point is, I'm very, very thankful that I haven't sold my business and haven't quit my business because, to be honest, I've grown to like it more and more. This is my 19th year, and I'm enjoying what I'm doing probably as much as ever, I would think. I mean, I really believe that. It took a while, but I've gotten smarter at what I'm doing. It's gotten less stressful. I enjoy staying active, working in the yard. I enjoy helping other people. I enjoy seeing the lawns transformed. Like when I go, I know when I start a yard, it looks horrible, and I can go back several months later, or sometimes maybe even a year later if it takes that long, and see a transformed lawn. I like that process. But I don't want to go work for somebody else. I'm not saying I never would, but I'm glad that I'm in business for myself. I think the financial opportunities are there, but also just the personal freedom. Like today, it's raining, and I decided to hop on here. I mean, I didn't have to do that, but I can if I want to. There's just a lot of flexibility. If my kids need to do something, or if we want to take a vacation, I'm not asking anybody if we can take off. I just have to work my schedule around that. And of course, there's a lot of responsibility. I mean, I've got to make sure that the lawn business is going. But anyway, I'm just saying, if you burn out, think about the alternatives. I had an office job one time for a year. It was terrible. So I don't know if they doubled my pay, I would do that. I mean, it would be a lot for that, at least for that job. They'd probably have to quadruple it for me to consider, because I didn't do anything. And I know sometimes that the lawn business can be hard work, but for me at least, doing nothing is way worse than like being out there sweating in the yard. I don't want to sit around doing nothing meaningful. So anyway, just take that for what it's worth. You may have to raise your prices. You may have to re-strategize. You may have to do something different, but let's be thankful for what we got. And I'm not saying this for everybody. I'm just saying for people like me, I'm very grateful to still be in the lawn business. He said, I plan on aerating in March. Any other means to help compact the soil? Put down carbon last week. Suppose that helps. I have no weeds other than goose grass. I mean, the aeration is probably makes the most sense as far as compacted soil. So, yeah, I would try that and see how well it works. But I'm just telling you, some yards probably going to get goose grass. I would just try to control it early with like that Dismiss NXT or something like that. Would aeration affect pre-emergent? Maybe. I would say, crabgrass, my understanding, has a short window of germination. So, again, based on where I'm at in Alabama, let's say our crabgrass is going to germinate on March the 5th. I don't know. And maybe most of that is going to germinate within a few week period, I think. So if you waited and aerated in late April or May, I think you're past the crabgrass window, and so it shouldn't be as big a deal if it did have an effect on the pre-emergent. Hey, Jason, sitting here waiting on the InView Mosquito class you told us about. Thanks again for what you taught. I don't recognize the name there, so I'm sorry, Mule 8352. I have a mentoring group. We meet every other Monday night. I'm assuming there's somebody in the group, but I don't. And there is an InView Mosquito thing starting. Maybe it's at 12:30. I forget Central Time. But they have all their mosquito solutions. Scion. They have those Into Care stations. I'm wanting to try those out this year. So, Jeff, sorry. All right. Well, I don't know if I'll be on there, but I want to hear. I'd love to hear a report from you on how it went. So, all right. Kalinga might be it. Look at the picture. Yeah, Kalinga, when they're saying spiky, Kalinga does have a little spiky, but that's typically in the summer. I mean, I don't know where you live, but she said she had St. Augustine. So if she's down in Florida, then maybe there's some Kalinga already there. With Kalinga, there's a lot of options for that as well to control that. The dismiss we've been talking about, sulfitrazone, blindside, dismiss NXT. A lot of stuff that has dismiss in it. Speaking of mosquitoes, I get the Patriot mosquito magnet called one so far. I see that Into Care one, but you decided I'd try this trap. Any thoughts? I'm not familiar with the mosquito magnet. What I was told about the Into Care, I'm not saying it's going to kill every mosquito, but it's not something to do with. I'm trying to remember how it was explained, but like ionizing the male or the female or something like that. And they go back and kill the rest of them. It's not like a chemical kind of deal. It's something that I forget. Be honest, I just forget. But it was a strange process that works to help control. So I want to try them at my place. I've got a creek flowing through my property and some wet areas, a little pond area down the road and stuff. So I would love to try that because we do have mosquitoes, unfortunately. Georgia, should I put a post-emergent on the POA? What would be safe for St. Augustine? Thanks for the help. I thought we did this already. If it's POA, sorry, maybe it was somebody else. If it's POA, if you got St. Augustine, you could use something like Celsius or something, but Celsius is going to be much more effective on POA if you do it early. So I wouldn't worry about it, to be honest with you. At this point, if it is POA, I would just let the heat kill it, and I would put out a pre-emergent next year in September or October. And if you want the pre-emergent to be even more effective, you could add Celsius with it. But with St. Augustine, your options are going to be limited as far as what post-emergent you could use. Revolver is one of the better ones, but it's not labeled for St. Augustine. So at this point, I think whatever you're going to try to control the pole with might have a negative effect of your St. Augustine, especially kind of during the spring transition. So I would not recommend doing that. I would just let the heat kill it, and next year go with pre-emergent in the fall, and you could put Celsius with that if you want to help control the POA. All right, any more questions? It's almost lunchtime. I talked a lot, and about my normal conversations, talk a lot and don't listen very well, but I'm trying to do better. If you got any last questions, go ahead. If not, I would point you again to those links in the description. One is the small engine warehouse. If you need blades, if you need any kind of spark plugs, any parts that you replace an engine, go there. There's an affiliate link there. The other is Footbridge Media. They do all kind of marketing, but I use them for website and SEO. So $199 a month with my link. If you don't use my link, it's $249 a month. So the link's in the description, or you can just go to Footbridge Media's website, scroll down to the bottom of the page, and there's a Lawn Care Life logo. You click on that, and it'll take you to the page. But they're great. They work with service businesses. I've been working with them for years. And I actually talked to a guy the other day. He said, man, hiring Footbridge was great. He said, this guy told me, he said, my sister is in the website business or marketing, and she said she couldn't do it for that price. He said, my sister was complimenting it, and she's in the business. And I thought, well, that's pretty good compliment to Footbridge. So they do a great job. I actually emailed them today to ask a question about my website. Hey, Jason, you think a small ride-on spreader sprayer would be a good setup for my first rig? I drive a Tacoma, so I can't carry a big skid sprayer. Yards are about 7,500 square feet. Yeah, I mean, I do think that's a good idea. I don't know where you live. By your picture of your grass there, you got a nice stripe, so I'm thinking cool season lawn. My question for you would be, how hilly is it? If it's not very hilly, that's an advantage, especially riding on the spreader sprayer. So I've got a Z spray, which is for bigger properties a lot of times. They do make the LTS one. I've got a back slope, but other ones you can look at would be like Turfware, Turfco, Permagreen. There's other ones out there that you could maybe pull with that without even using one of those racks without having to pull a trailer. And 7,500 square feet, that's that kind of in between size where it doesn't hurt your feelings to ride if you can help it. So yeah, if it's not too hilly, I think that's an advantage. The back slope is great on hills. And then you could have a 100-gallon tank maybe that you could use to refill with, or even less if you wanted to. But that's just kind of my thoughts. But yeah, on a Tacoma, you don't want to put a big spray rig in the back. So, or you could pull a trailer. I guess you could mount it all on a trailer, like a 100-gallon tank, and then put the ride-on the trailer. But now you're pulling a trailer around. So whatever you think on that. All right, guys, I'm going to eat some lunch. I enjoyed the conversation, even though I'm reading and responding. It's basically a conversation. Thanks for hopping on here. If you want to do weed control like me, lawncarelife.com, there's courses available, things like that. I had people ride with me. I had a guy come ride with me last week. Another guy's talking about riding with me maybe next week. So they kind of come and see what I do. Then they also do a coaching call. There's the weed control, fertilization cabinet, things like that. All right. See you guys later. Thanks a lot.